לכבוד לנו שהגענו לרגע הזה, שהמקום הזה קם על שם הלן פרידמן, שהיא כל כך חסרה עכשיו פה היום. הקמנו פה משהו לזיכרונה. זה לא מספיק, אבל כל הפינה כאן היא זיכרון הלן. אתם זוכרים, זה הדרך של הלן, הדרך של AFSI. ג'ודי, את היית כל הזמן איתנו. והנה, עכשיו אנחנו מתכבדים שאתם מורידים את הלוט מעל השלט לזכרה של הלן.
I'll just translate what Judith says. We are very moved to officiate, how do you say, to have the dedication of the Helen Freedman compound, thanks to you, Judy, and Leon, and all of AFSI. And as Judith says, this place is not new to you, because you already were involved in the AFSI path and the big sign, and nothing more natural than having this whole area here called the AFSI compound, and we'll talk about that a little more during the speeches. So now we're going to, it's our honor for having you take off the lot here, read it out loud, and then let's go to the second sign that gives a little more explanation about who Helen was. Here you go. Judy, you read. Oh,
okay. An eternal memory of Helen Freedman, who loved Eretz Yisrael, a woman with a ruach acheret, unique and powerful spirit.
Let's go to the second sign and have you read it there too, and then please come and sit.
נמצא איתנו כאן משה אורבך, שפעל על פי התוכניות של ליאון בדיוק. הם שני אנשים שבונים את ארץ ישראל. משה אורבך, בלעדיו אין כאן שום דבר, הוא בונה את הכל לפי ההוראות של האדריכל הגדול ליאון. והנה זה מה שהקמנו, זה מה שחלמנו, והנה זה מתגשם, והכל לזכרה של הלן.
We have with us Moshe Orbach, who built everything here, with the instruction from America, from Leon, who is a builder also, who built, Moshe and Leon, they built Eretz Yisrael. 50-50, Ken. And it is a dream that you and Judy had, and now it is here. Judy, please, here, take the microphone and take this and read it. Take this.
Okay. So, this is the Helen Freedman compound. As executive director of AFSI, Americans for a Safe Israel, Helen acted on her passion for Zion in words and action. She spoke out at every opportunity on behalf of a greater Israel and the application of sovereignty. She brought more than 50 Jewish groups from America to Israel to give chizuk to the brave pioneers of Judea and Samaria. And it's so wonderful to see so many of you here today to initiate the opening of this lovely compound that would have made her so happy. She loved Eretz Yisrael with all her heart and believed in sovereignty and believed in Yisrael Shlema, and I will not go on, but thank you all for being here.
Thank you. תודה רבה, בבקשה לשבת.
Come on guys, we'll take a picture.
Under pouring rain, 20 AFSI, Americans for a Safe Israel members, headed by their leader Helen Freedman, arrived in Netzer on Friday for a tour and plantings, before continuing to Hevron for Shabbat Chayei Sarah. All of a sudden, a group of Arabs showed up and started a confrontation, with the Arabs trying to prevent the Jews from planting, by pushing and shoving the Jews and even uprooting the trees that had just been planted. After a few minutes, the Arabs brought reinforcements, with some 12 Arabs working on a nearby field. One has to mention that the activists did not fear nor shy away from the conflict, On the contrary, they acted bravely, planted anyway, replanted the few saplings the Arabs had uprooted, and defended the planted trees with their bodies till the IDF arrived. To the soldiers, the activists explained that on this piece of land there had already been a conflict months ago, and the civil administration clearly stated then that these are state lands, and thus the Arabs have no right to approach that area. And indeed, the soldiers did what they were supposed to do, and took out the Arabs from that plot of land. The AFSI activists experienced a live report of the daily struggle for the land of Israel, dunam after dunam.
This is the Americans for a Safe Israel group, and we've planted him many times, but always in the sunshine, and never with the Arabs battling with us at the same time. Have the Arabs coming, pulling out the saplings before you even get a chance to put them into the ground, throwing them away with such disdain. I can't imagine what Nadia and Yehudit and the women in green go through. We're just visiting here, but they do this every day. I mean, every time that they have to plant, they have to deal with these Arabs who are so aggressive and so violent.
אנחנו ננגן פה על כל עץ ועץ, על כל פיסת אדמה פה בארץ ישראל.
Based on their experience of many years, it is clear to the activists that they might need to plant and replant the trees on this piece of land until it will safely stay in Jewish hands. On the eve of Shabbat Chayei Sarah, that is really the message we learn from Avram Avinu. Even though the land of Israel was promised to us by God, it will be redeemed and in our hands only after a lot of hard work, determination, tenacity, and steadfastness.
אתם באתם, לא משנה מזג האוויר, ברוך השם, אתם הגעתם ועושים את המאמץ לטעת בארץ ישראל. לא מחכים שהעצים יגדלו מעצמם, לא מחכים שארץ ישראל תתרבש מעצמה, אלא באים בגופכם ונוטים.
In the end, the trees were planted and are waiting with the help of God to grow fruit.
ג'ודי, ליאון, אורחים יקרים, ברוכים הבאים לישראל, ברוכים הבאים לעוז וגאון.
Dear Judy, Leon, dear guests, welcome to Israel, welcome to Oz V'Gaon.
התאספנו כאן כדי לזכור את הלן פרידמן, זיכרונה לברכה, לחנוך את המתחם הזה שהוקם לזכרה על ידי חברי AFSI הנפלאים.
We gathered here to remember our dear friend Helen Freedman of blessed memory, to dedicate this compound that was built in Helen's memory by Judy, Leon, and the wonderful AFSI members.
תודה לג'ודי ולאון ולכל החברים שפעלו רבות למען הקמת מתחם זה, המגדיל את אחיזתנו כאן בשמורת עוז וגאון בלב גוש עציון.
Thank you to Judy and Leon and all the friends who worked hard to establish this complex that increases our hold and the Jewish presence here in Oz V'Gaon, in the heart of Gush Etzion.
הלן היא מילה נרדפת לעשייה, תמיד מחוברת לעשייה. כאשר היא מגיעה לארץ ישראל, הלו"ז שלה עמוס לעייפה. מתרוצצים מיישוב למאחז, ממאחז לחווה, מחווה לדרום תל אביב, תמיד בפעולה. הכוח המניע שלה נבע מאהבתה הגדולה לארץ ישראל.
Helen Freedman is a synonym for doing, always connected to doing in action. When she arrives in Israel, her schedule is full, running from community to new outpost, from an agricultural farm in the hills of Judea and Samaria to South Tel Aviv, always in action. Her driving force stemmed from her great love for the land of Israel.
ליבה וכולה הייתה בארץ ישראל. כמו רבי יהודה הלוי שכתב, ליבי במזרח ואנוכי בסוף מערב.
Helen's whole heart was in the land of Israel, like Rabbi Yehuda Levi, who wrote, "My heart is in the east, and I am in the west."
וכאשר הייתה בארצות הברית, חזרה הביתה, גם פעלה ללא לאות. קיבלה פעילים מהארץ, הסתובבה איתם בכנסים, ארגנה מפגשים עם הקונגרסמנים, הסנטורים, ארגנה הפגנות אינסוף מול הבית הלבן והקפיטול, הכל למען עם ישראל וארץ ישראל. הייתה לה נשמה של ארץ ישראל, אדם נולד לשליחות. הלן ידעה את שליחותה ומילאה אותה בשלמות.
When she was in the United States, she also worked tirelessly, receiving activists from the country, traveling with them to conferences, organizing meetings with congressmen and senators, organizing endless demonstrations and vigils in front of the White House and the Capitol, all for the sake of the people of Israel and the land of Israel. Helen had a soul of the land of Israel. A person is born in this world to perform a mission. Helen knew her mission and fulfilled it perfectly.
הלן הייתה הראשונה שאיתה דיברנו על ריבונות ועל הצורך להקים תנועת הריבונות. נפגשנו איתה במלון בירושלים בסוף 2010. הלן הקשיבה קשב רב ומיד הבינה את חשיבות העניין והובילה את רעיון הריבונות בעוז ובגאון. כבר בביקור הקרוב שבא אחרי השיחה הזאת, כולם הגיעו עם חולצות ריבונות.
Helen was the first person we talked to about sovereignty and the need to establish a sovereignty movement. We met her at a hotel in Jerusalem at the end of 2010. Helen listened intently and immediately understood the importance of the matter and led the idea of sovereignty with oz vegaon, with boldness and pride, with strength. And already on the next visit after this talk, the next visit that she organized for AFSI to Israel, all AFSI members were wearing sovereignty shirts.
ההנצחה בעוז וגאון טבעית ומתבקשת, ובחרנו לבנות את המתחם סמוך למדרגות ולשלט ברוכים הבאים לגוש עציון, שגם זה תרומת AFSI.
Commemorating Helen in Oz Vegaon is so natural, and we chose to build a compound near the stairs and the sign "Welcome to Gush Etzion," which is also an AFSI donation.
לפרגולה הזאת יש היבט חברתי. לאנשים שאין להם רכבים, כשיורדים מהאוטובוס בצומת הגוש, יכולים לעלות ברגל במדרגות של AFSI ולהגיע לפרגולה הזאת וליהנות מצל ומים. כמובן שחסר עדיין שירותים וחשמל נורמלי כדי שיהיה קפה בפעם הבאה, אבל אנחנו בטוחות שגם זה יהיה. ליאון וג'ודי יודעים לעשות את זה מצוין.
This pergola has a social aspect. People who do not have cars, vehicles, who get off the bus at the Gush Etzion intersection can get here easily by foot and enjoy shade and water. Of course, there are more things to add. Leon, do you listen? We need to add toilets. We need to add normal electricity. That's why we couldn't have coffee here. Playground facilities. We believe that everything will come thanks to you guys, because that is what Helen would have done, and we know you can do that too.
אוקיי, thank you. אבל אי אפשר בלי פרשת השבוע, כי זה בדיוק מתאים. אנחנו קוראים השבת את פרשת לך לך. השם פונה לאברהם אבינו וקורא אליו, לך לך. מה המשמעות הקריאה? הרי הם כבר בדרך, אברהם אבינו בדרך לארץ כנען. ועוד יש לשאול, למה דווקא לאברהם אבינו?
It is impossible to gather all of us without a few words about the weekly Torah portion, Parshat Shavua. We read this coming Shabbat the Parsha of Lech Lecha. It's very difficult to translation. Go. God turns to our ancestor Abraham and calls out to him, Lech Lecha. What does the call mean? They're already on their way to the land of Canaan. And one must also ask, why does God call out to Abraham, Lech Lecha?
המקרא לא מפרט את מעשיו של אברהם. כמו שהוא מפרט אצל נוח. נוח איש צדיק תמים היה. או אצל חנוך, ויתהלך חנוך את האלוקים. לגבי אברהם, המקרא שותק.
The Bible doesn't list the deeds of Abraham or his characteristics. When God turns, for instance, to Noach, he indicates Noach was a righteous man in his generation. And it's also said about Hanoch, and Hanoch walked with God. About Abraham, silence. The Bible is silent.
השפת אמת מבאר על פי הזוהר שהקריאה לך לך היא לכל האנשים תמיד, לכולנו. ואברהם אבינו שמע וקיבל. אחרים גם שמעו, לא קיבלו, אבל אברהם אבינו קיבל. כלומר, הקריאה לך לך מופנית לכולנו, לאיש ואישה, וזה לא ייחודי לאברהם אבינו. הייחוד של אברהם אבינו שהוא שמע ועשה.
Sfat Emet explains, based on the Zohar, that the call Lech Lecha is for everybody, for all people always. but not everybody listens. Abraham, our father, heard and accepted the call. That is, the call Lech Lecha is addressed to each and every person, and it is not unique to Avraham Avinu. The uniqueness of Avraham Avinu is that he heard the call and accepted it.
מה הקריאה הזאת באה ללמד, לעורר? בהקשרו של אברהם אבינו, אנחנו רואים את זה אצל אברהם אבינו, שהוא תמיד בתנועה. הליכה, ריצה, השכמה, מהירות. זו התכונה המאפיינת את אברהם יותר מכל. תנועה. ואם אתה בתנועה, אתה מתקדם. אברהם לא נשאר מקובע. הוא בחיפוש תמיד. התנועה וההתקדמות הן השותפות למעשה בראשית ועניינה תיקון עולם.
What does this call come to evoke? In the context of Abraham, we see that he's always in motion, walking, running, waking up early, speeding. This is the characteristic that characterizes Abraham most of all, movement. And if you're in movement, you are making progress. Abraham did not remain fixed, he did not remain paralyzed. He's always in search of doing and moving. Being in motion and advancing is being a partner in the creation of the world. And that is Tikkun Olam.
הלן שמע את אותה קריאה שאברהם אבינו שמע. ללכת, לנוע, לחפש, להתקדם. ואכן הלן תמיד הייתה בתנועה. מתקדמת ומשפיעה, כמו בושם, שאם עומד, אינו מפיץ ריח. אך אם מנענעים אותו, מפיץ את ריחו. כך הלן הפיצה את אהבתה ודאגתה לארץ ישראל ולעם ישראל.
Helen, our Helen, heard the same call that Abraham heard. She heard and she decided to act upon that call. And she did, to move, to walk, to seek and progress. And indeed we saw Helen in constant, influential movement. Like a perfume, which if the perfume is standing, it doesn't spread a scent. But if it's shaken, it spread its scent. So Helen spread her love and concern for the land of Israel and the people of Israel.
אנחנו יודעים שג'ודי תמשיך את המסורת. להגיע לארץ ישראל, לפעול למענה, באותה מסירות, באותה דאגה בדיוק.
We know that Judy, that you will continue the tradition of coming to the land of Israel and working and being in movement with the same dedication, with the same concern.
תודה לכם חברים שבאתם. תודה על העזרה והשותפות לאורך שנים. בעזרת השם, אנחנו נמשיך בדרכה של הלן, שהייתה אומרת, שום דבר לא יעבוד אם לא נעבוד.
We thank you, friends, for coming. All of you, we see so many people who came from far to also to be with you, Judy here, and they'll go schmooze later. Thank you for and you AFSI friends for the many years of help and partnership. We'll continue in the path of Helen, who would have said if she was here, nothing will work if we do not work. And boy, there's a lot of work.
ויש הרבה עבודה שמחכה לנו. אנו נמצאים בתקופה מורכבת פוליטית. נושא ארץ ישראל לצערנו יורד מסדר היום, אבל לא בשמאל, ולא בארצות הברית, ולא באירופה. שם מדברים על שתי מדינות. יותר ויותר אנחנו שומעים את הנושא הזה שחשבנו שכבר נגמר, הנושא של שתי מדינות עולה ועולה. ולכן עלינו להעיר את כל אוהבי ופעילי ארץ ישראל, לפעול, לצאת לשטח, להילחם בהקפאת הבנייה, חס וחלילה, להילחם בחלוקת הארץ, להילחם על קרקעות בשטחי C, להילחם תודעתית עבור ירושלים רבתי, חיים נמצא כאן, עבור הריבונות, המון עבודה, אבל בעזרת השם, בעזרת חברים טובים, נעשה ונצליח.
There's a lot of work. We are in a politically complex period, complicated period. The issue of the land of Israel is off the agenda, but not by the left, not in the US, not in Europe. They are talking more and more about the two-state solution. They are bringing Abu Mazen back to life and back to the forefront. They're standing online to jump into the Merkata and meet him. And on the right, there's too much silence. Dear friends, we must wake up, we must wake the entire camp. We must go back to act, to go out into the field, to fight for safeguarding Area C from illegal Arab takeover, to fight against the construction freeze, against the distorted vision for the division of the land of Israel, God forbid, to fight consciously for a greater Jerusalem, like Chaim is here too, to turn Jerusalem into a huge metropolis, to organize demographics, to have a Jewish majority, to continue fighting for sovereignty. So there's a lot of work. Please God, we will act and do, and Bezrat Hashem, we will succeed. Amen.
מה שאנחנו נעשה עכשיו, הדובר הבא הוא נועם ארנון, דוקטור נועם ארנון, והיום זה מאוד חשוב לי שהוא דוקטור, בגלל שאני רוצה יחד עם נדיה שאולי ייכנס לחוג הפרופסורים ויתחיל לפעול ולדברר גם אותו. אחר כך הרצאתו של פרופסור מוטי קדר. מה אכפת לך?
בשבילנו אתה פרופסור. ונועם אתה בדרך.
ואחרי זה ג'ודי וחברים שרוצים אחר כך להגיד כמה מילים.
We will hear now words of blessing by Noam Arnon, Dr. Noam Arnon. We can mechiyot kapayim for becoming a doctor, and as Yehudit says, we would like him to join also the professors who have a strong right-wing professors for a strong Israel. And afterwards, of course, the main lecture by Professor, we decided you're Professor Mordecai Kedar. Then Judy will say a few words, and then of course anybody who wants to say a few words briefly afterwards, with pleasure, bevakasha Noam, and then Mordecai Kedar.
Okay, תודה רבה. Thank you very much. If I'm a doctor, Mordecai Kedar is surely a professor, at least, you know. Anyhow, I'm honored to be here, and I feel some sort of gratitude that we owe all to Helen and to AFSI. I want to ask a word about the name AFSI, Americans for Safe Israel. I think it's a genius name, because safety and security, we all know. Some people say safety and security, Israel does not have to take care for itself, because America or some sort of other foreign forces will take care for your security. What do you need? You can put some foreign forces all around the borders, some foreign forces in the country, and then we take care for your safety. But I think the friends of AFSI and all of us understand that no foreign forces can take care for our security. And Hashem said, if you leave your country, you will not have security. We all saw in Gaza, okay, we thought we are going to leave. Gaza will not be our problem, it will be some problem of somebody else. There is no security without land. There is no safety without Eretz Israel. Eretz Israel is our homeland, and it's the basis for our security, for our national security. And that's the message of AFSI. It's not only safety, it's awareness. The connection to Eretz Israel, the attitude to Eretz Israel begins with history, with awareness, with feelings, with songs, with prayers. And this was the message of AFSI. This is the message of Helen. I would like to mention Herb, our dear Herb. We also, owe to him a very our deepest feelings. And being in Eretz Israel and developing the awareness, the history, the knowledge of Eretz Israel is the foundation of being connected to the land, and this is the foundation for our national security. It said here in the signs here, Helen, Isha im ruach acheret. Okay, I would like to understand what is this ruach acheret. It's another spirit, but in Hebrew it said ruach acheret. I would like to suggest the meaning of acheret. It's a connection of three words. Acheret means achrayut, ribonut, toshavut. What does it mean? Thank you. Achrayut is taking, we are responsible for this land. It's our land. We are responsible. We have to take responsibility for the land. This is achrayut. And then ribonut. Without ribonut, we are foreigners here, but we must have all the things that we do for a really ribonut. This land belongs to us, and we are the ribbon. we own this country. And those Arabs who want to live in peace, only those Arabs who want to live in peace can have toshavut. They can be residents here, they can live here. I myself, I think every man here, you know some Arabs that may be good neighbors. If we control the country, some of them may be good neighbors. They will have toshavut. This is, I think, the three words that can symbolize and somehow summarize our message, our idea for how to control Eretz Israel in the future. Yes. Okay, חירות, that's right. אחריות, חירות, ריבונות תושבית. Oh, okay, that's good. It's, you know, it's a better... יפה, תודה רבה. תודה רבה, תודה רבה. I want to thank Judy and Leon. I want to thank Nadia and Yehudit. תודה רבה לכם for your activity. I want to thank all the friends here. I want just to finish. We know that we said here that Abraham Avinu was going. Haloch v'nasoa, he was going, he was moving. But there's one place that Abraham Avinu had settled down. It's the end of chapter 13 in Bereshit. Vayeshev be'elonei mamre asher b'Hevron. When Abraham Avinu came to Hebron, he could settle down. Vayeshev. This is the first time in the Bereshit that you read the word Vayeshev for Abraham Avinu. So once we all get to Hebron, to the whole Hebron, then Imir Hashem, we can settle down Vayeshev and, you know, continue our התיישבות בארץ ישראל in the name of Abraham Avinu. תודה רבה. Thank you all.
Thank you, Noam. Toda. Professor Mordecai Kedar, Dr. Mordecai Kedar. Just one, please come to the microphone. A dear friend of yours wrote you couldn't come, Ken Abramovitz, but he sent us a short note, which we're reading now. Ken, and this is also on Facebook, so hopefully he will see it too. Helen Freedman was a hero of the Jewish people, a hero of Israel, a hero of America, and a hero of Western civilization. She did it all. She was an inspiration to me personally and was my big hero. She taught me to be brave, bold, and courageous. She taught me to never give up. She taught me to stand my ground against our numerous enemies. Her soul lives on as an inspiration to me and all who knew her. Kenneth Abramovitz.
Judy and other, of course, Nadia and Yehudit and all the others. Thank you so much for coming here, and thank you for inviting me to speak here. But I have only one question to Nadia. How long do you want me to speak? Because university teachers usually speak in segments of an hour and a half. Ladies and gentlemen, I visited the United States of America some dozens of times since 2006 when I started my speaking tours in the United States. And I met with thousands of Americans, mostly Jewish, but not only. But I don't remember them all because it's impossible. I have, by the way, a very weak memory. I forgot the ring to my wedding. But it's okay. We are married. Until today, Raina, my she who must be obeyed, never forgot and never forgave me for that. But we'll live with this. I met with many American Jews, or Jewish Americans, I don't know, everybody defines himself differently. But I remember very few people, because very few people made a big impression on me. Those who were listening and sometimes talking to me. One of them was Judy. You could sense the power, how resoluted she was. Helen. Judy as well. Helen as well. How resoluted she was. how opinionated she was, and how knowledgeable. Because knowledge is power. Of course, there are others like this, like Ken Abramovitz, Evelyn Hayes, when he was here. Of course, there are Stephen Stern, a good friend of mine, and some others, definitely. But I think that Helen was, I think, one of the most powerful personalities which I met in my tours in the United States. May she rest in peace. Ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow will be the 15th of October. The world will pass another day, and the world will not pay attention to this time or to this date. Tomorrow, the Islamic world will celebrate 2 months of the big achievement, big victory, which they had in the 15th of August, 2 months ago, when the most powerful, or the allegedly most powerful superpower in the world ran away from Kabul only because some barefoot, almost without any weapons, only some machine guns, and that's it, group of Muslims succeeded to bring America to its knees. This is how they see it, and they have a point. Because this is actually what happened. The most powerful superpower in the world succeeded after 20 years of attempts to tame those people and to convince them to move from the Middle Ages thinking of Islam, from the tribal behavior of Afghanistan, to bring them to modernity, to think like Americans, to behave like Westerners, and to embrace the values and the mindset of normal people, as the Americans keep saying. This was a failure from the beginning. I myself, I met with one of the advisors of the State Department. It was 2010, when President Obama those days gathered his officials also from Afghanistan and from Iraq as well, to like a month of discussions in DC about the question what can be done with Iraq and Afghanistan, which we didn't think about. So I went there. I happened to be in DC that time, and I met with one of the advisors of the State Department, and I gave him the idea, the most natural idea of the Middle East: just divide Afghanistan to ethnic states, just like what happened in the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union was dismantled to 15 countries. Uzbekistan for the Uzbeks, Kazakhstan for the Kazakhs, Tajikistan for the Tajiks, Ukrainian for the Ukraine, and so forth, okay? According to ethnic lines. Ethnicity is still alive and kicking. I would even say alive and killing. If you create states without taking in account the ethnic divides, you create mayhem, like Afghanistan or Iraq. Afghanistan, but both problems, the same problem, because both countries comprise of ethnic groups, tribes, religions, sects, and nobody embraced the state mindset, because everybody remained loyal to his own sect or religion or tribe or ethnic group. And this is the same thing in Afghanistan. So do the natural thing. Follow what happened in the Soviet Union, what happened in Yugoslavia, what happened in Czechoslovakia. The same thing. So logical. So he looks at me and says, what do you claim? That there is no Afghani nation? I says, no. There is no Afghani nation. No one of them calls himself Afghani. Only by the passport. There are Baloch, there are Pashtuns, there are Tajikis, there are Uzbeks, everything in Afghanistan. They don't have common language, they don't have common mindset, they don't have common history, they don't have common future, and they don't share anything except for the hatred towards each other. And this is the only thing which makes them together, fighting together constantly. And this is the reason why Afghanistan is a failing state, was a failing state, and will remain a failing state if you don't do the right thing according to the ethnic divides of this country. He didn't even want to listen. He didn't want even to listen to the logic behind this idea. And this is the core reason for the failure of the Americans. First of all, to understand the Islamic world. Secondly, to do what is right to do in this unfortunate world when Islam as a religion failed to bring them all together under one aegis as brothers to the religion. Because what we see today, not today, since 14 centuries, since Islam started, how they fight each other, an all-out war, only because the Muslim Sunnis do not like the Muslim Shia, the Muslim Turks do not like the Muslim Kurds, the Muslim Arabs do not like the Muslim Berbers in North Africa, and the Muslim tribes in Libya do not like the other tribes who are also Muslim in Libya. So actually, Islam is the failure of bring them all together, make them all together, and give them the idea that you Muslims are all brothers. And this is, in my view, the main failure of Islam. And what we see today, the constant wars between Muslims, let alone the others, is the biggest failure of this religion. However, they succeeded in one thing, to convince everybody that everybody is committed to the jihad. And the jihad is something which they are shared by all. Of course, when they fight each other, they claim that this is jihad. Because the fight of the Shia against the Sunnah is a jihad. And the Sunnah against the Shia is also a jihad. Okay? Means a war for Allah. Or the war in the name of Allah. Or the war fi sabilillah. Means in the path to Allah. And this is the jihad. However, we as Israelis, as Jews, or Westerners, whatever you define us as we have to understand this jihad issue, because at the end of the day, we are the victims of that jihad. Not only the Muslims, we are also. What do I mean? Jihad, first of all, is a war, holy war. It was by the sword in the ancient times, and today it could be by the rifle, by the missile, by the explosive belt, it could be by roadside explosives, it could be by any killing device which they use. This is the jihad, the military jihad, which we all know about. And unfortunately, this is all what we know about jihad, because this is a military action against the infidels. It is correct, but it's not the whole picture. There are many, many other kinds of jihad. And every one of them is jihad. I'll give you some examples. First of all, there is an economic jihad. The BDS is viewed by Muslims as an economic jihad. And this is well rooted in the Islamic tradition. What do I mean? There is a question in the Sharot Utshuvot of the Islam. If somebody is going to the jihad fields, okay, to the battlefields, okay, to the jihad fields, and he has to eat. because it's far. So if somebody gives him food, how much of the jihad comes to the one who gave the food? Means how much the support. So there is a debate in Islam whether he has 25%, means a quarter, or a third. Means the one who supports the mujahid, the warrior, financially by giving food, he has, according to some ideas, he has a quarter of the jihad. Very good reward. And according to others, a third of the jihad. And what if the man who, after he gave him the food, he gives him also a place to spend the night and take a shower and rest for a little bit, and in the morning he gave him also his horse to get to the jihad field faster and in a better way. So the debate is whether he has third or half of the jihad. Means that economic support for the jihad is it's essential and integral part of the jihad. Okay? So those who support the jihads by giving the money, like Qatar, the Emirate of Qatar, which supports Hamas, for example, takes part in the jihad, and this is their mindset. It's not an economic support to the poor people in Gaza. It is a part of the jihad which the people of Qatar, especially the Emir, this is what he's doing, by money. Those who undermine the economic situation of the enemy are also taking part in the jihad, and this is the BDS. So, promoting the BDS, especially when two Jew boys, the producers of Ben and Jerry, no, this Ben and Jerry is the brand name which I suggested to produce here in Israel. Ben and Jerry's don't get it. That if they boycott Israel or even part of Israel here by not allowing their products to be sold here, they are actually taking part in the economic jihad against the Jews. They don't get it because they are too liberal. There is a political jihad or public jihad. An organization like CARE, Committee on American Islamic Relations. This is kind of a politic jihad in order to settle in the States, which is another kind of the jihad, the settlement jihad, Yeshuvut, what they do in the States. And this is actually mentioned in a very important document which was found by the American authorities in Florida in the investigation of the Holy Land Foundation. They found the operational code of the Muslim Brotherhood in the United States. You can download it for free from the internet. If you Google an explanatory memorandum of the group. This is, if you download it, you can get it from the IPT website for free. And you can read it. It starts in Arabic, then it comes an official translation by English. It is PDF. And you can read clearly what is the goal of the Muslim Brotherhood in the States by establishing organizations like CARE, MSA, Muslim Student Association, and all kinds of others. And they mention all the NGOs which are working according to the tax exempt, like 501c3, means they use the American money in order to promote the jihad against America by settling in America and forging organizations like CARE. And this is a political or public jihad as well. There is a media jihad. Al Jazeera, for example, which is broadcast by Qatar from all the world. The same country which sponsors the jihadists by money. So they have also a media jihad. And by establishing an English-speaking Al Jazeera, it is a jihad from inside the United States. Because it comes in English. What is better than this? Al-Manar of Hezbollah, all the networks. Means they use, in the media jihad, they use WhatsApp and Instagram and Telegram and all these applications in order to recruit people, in order to convince people to come to the jihad. So this is also some kind of a media jihad. And if you open a group of jihadists or to incite people to go to the jihad, this is also part of the jihad. Otherwise, people will not come. So it is a part of the jihad. There is a migration jihad. What they do today to Europe and to America as well, and to here as well. This is migration jihad. Jihad by migration. We don't have to fight them. We don't have to kill them. Let's just go there. We will have children. They anyway do not have children. The Europeans and Americans also, some of them, do not have children, at least not in order to keep the society alive. So in a generation, 2, 3, 4, 5, who cares? We will be the masters of Europe, and then we'll be the masters of America. And we are there. And the migration is part of the jihad. By the way, Muslims are very patient. We are not. We want everything to be instant. We want it now, because our clock ticks every 4 years, times of this, time of that. They have time. And there is actually a verse in the Quran which says, Inna Allah ma'asabirin. Allah is with those who have patience. And they have patience. There is a settlement jihad, what you see on every hill, on every place, here in the country and many other countries as well. There is the fire jihad. Would they set fire in groves? And I'm not sure that in other parts of the world they don't do it as well. I don't know, but the Notre Dame, if you ask the French who burned the Notre Dame, they will not tell you, although they know. There is the street jihad. What we saw here in May, what we saw in Lod, in Ramle, in Yafo, what we saw in Akko. My friend, Abi Har Even, the one who initiated the Israeli space program, and there was a colleague of mine in Bessa Center in Bar Ilan. He was burned to death. Burned to death in this street jihad, which we had here in May. When they pray in streets like in Paris or in other places in the world, this is another kind of jihad, to show the others that we are here to stay. You can't kick us out. This kind of, to convince the others that their game is over because we are here. We the Muslims are here. There is the conversion jihad. Unfortunately, if you go to YouTube and you search, why did I convert to Islam? You will see how many Americans, Europeans, and unfortunately Jews as well, why they migrate, why they change their religion and embraced Islam. And this is another kind of jihad in order to, they call it dawah. Dawah is invitation to Islam. It is another aspect of the jihad in order to convert the whole world to Islam. In Lebanon, there is the biggest construction company is run by Hezbollah, and the name of this company is Jihad al-Bina, means the construction jihad, means construct places where you can live, you can work, factories, whatever, is a part of the fight for Islam. Because this way you become richer, you have business, and you settle wherever you are. And this is also part of the jihad. There is the drug jihad. In Lebanon, in Afghanistan, they grow puppies, for the Oznei Haman, including, for opium, hashish, and all the others, grass. They don't, in most cases, they don't use it. They export it to Europe, to America, to other parts of the world in order to weaken those societies, so those societies will be a better or easier prey for the jihadists if they all become addicts to drugs. There is the judicial jihad. suing Israel and other countries in all kinds of tribunals in the world, it's also kind of jihad, using the devices of the world against the Jews and against others. Another kind of jihad. There is the stealth jihad, stealing, bursting into houses, and what we see here, much. Burning cars, taking cars, bursting into houses. The birth jihad, giving birth. More and more and more children, especially in other countries like in Europe, in the United States, in order to grow more and more, while the others are not bringing children to the world. There's another kind of jihad. What we saw, uprooting of trees. Another kind of jihad. Look, when they uproot a tree, they don't mean to uproot the tree only. They want to uproot the enemies. So but the enemies is too powerful, so they do to the tree because the tree cannot resist. And this is what it symbolizes for them. There's another kind of the jihad. In 2002, I was watching Al Jazeera, the media jihad. Every Sunday, between 9 and 10 p.m., was a program by Yusuf Qaradawi, the most powerful leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. And he had a whole hour in a program named Al-Sharia wal-Hayat, means the Sharia and life. And he was talking for like 15 minutes and then get phone calls from all over the Islamic world. People were asking questions and he would answer on air. A lady calls, and this was the time of the Second Intifada here, the days of when we, fortunately, when we put an end to the jihad came from Jenin by getting rid of all those factories of explosives in Jenin, Chomat Magen. And a lady calls from Syria. She tells the Yusuf Qaradawi, the sheikh, look, I'm a lady, I'm a woman who lives in Syria. I don't have money, so I cannot give money for the jihad. I cannot take the rifle and go to the jihad against the Jews because I'm a mother of 7 children. And I don't have anything actually to fight with. What can I do for the jihad? What can I do for the jihad? So Qaradawi answers without any waiting. He says, dear lady, pray for the jihadists, for them to succeed. And this will be part of the jihad. And this is the prayer jihad. If you pray for them, Allah will hear you and give them success, give them the victory, the Nasr. Also because of your prayer. So I said, thank you so much, Sheikh. You gave me a goal for my life, to pray for the jihadists. Ladies and gentlemen, jihad is not only by rifle or by explosive build. Jihad is many, many manifestations of activity of Muslims all over the world, here included. But the United States are included as well. Always, I call upon my friends and my listeners. Ladies and gentlemen, wake up, learn about them, read about them, listen to what people who know about them tell you, and start to believe what they say. Because if they say that they want to get rid of the Jews here, it's the Iranians. What do you think they need nuclear bomb for? I think that we Jews do not have the luxury to interpret what our enemies say in another way rather than face value. We once did it, some 80 years ago, and the result was disastrous. We don't have the luxury of interpreting things not on their face value. Thank you so much, and kol hakavod leAFSI for what they do. And thank you so much, AFSI and the activists of AFSI, for what you do and for what you are. Thank you.
Wow, as usual. Wow, Moti Kedar. Judy, you come and say a few words.
Hi, everybody. It's so great to see so many familiar faces and so many unfamiliar faces here today, celebrating my mom's life, really. I didn't have anything prepared, so what I say is just coming from my heart. And what I can say is that, my mom was a lioness fighting for her family, for her brothers and sisters. She had one brother and three sisters by blood. She had 4 children, 2 grandchildren. And when I first came to Israel with her, I realized that she had a much larger family. She had sisters and brothers amongst all of you. And it motivated her so strongly to constantly work, to find every avenue, to speak out, to help out, to do anything she could do to advance the people of Israel, the land of Israel, the necessity of the Jewish people to have a homeland. And I'm gonna cry. I just really so appreciate this. Leon came up with the idea, and we ran with it. And I hope that there are just many more of my mom's family who are here to enjoy it. So thank you very much.
If anybody wants to say very briefly, we have a few words. Jeff wanted to say a few words, he told us, and you will saw in a minute, and then we'll finish with a very brief video listening to what Helen has to say. So Jeff, a few words. Oh, Leon, of course. Sorry, you're on the list, Leon. It's my fault. Sorry. No, you come here. And. Sorry. Of course, Leon, and then Jeff.
Thank you. I used to lecture for a living, and it used to be 1 hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours. So I prepared some remarks. I'm kidding. This idea came to me because of course, Helen. We spoke with Judy, Nadia, and Yehudit, and came up with this pergola. Here in the States, we call it a pavilion. So what we did not have to do, we didn't have to call the State Department in the United States. We didn't have to call London, and we didn't call the Europeans to make this happen. You pulled some permits from someplace, and here we are. And with the very talented individual to my right, Eifa Moshe. He left? Moshe. Moshe was the builder. And with my limited expertise in this kind of thing, I'm a retired physiologist, but that's another story. Moshe and I came up with this. But thank you all very much. Okay. This is my better side. I don't have a good side.
Everybody
Hi, I'm Jeff Daube, and I promised Nadia that I would speak for 2 minutes. Actually, now it's going to be less than that, because Judy, you stole my thunder. And I'm going to, with everybody's permission, I'm going to speak to Judy. And this is also coming from the heart, because you know that your mom was my mom, my sister. She was our family, and she cared deeply for all of us, for those of us who were privileged to know her. And then she had her bigger family. That's those of us who live here in Israel. And she cared so, so deeply for that big family, for Am Yisrael. It wasn't only evident when she came here after I made Aliyah in 2007, and she would come with the Chizuk missions. But we were on what your mother and I called the Northeast Corridor Shuttle. We would take trips constantly down to Washington, and we would share our peanut butter sandwiches on Amtrak. And your mother was just indomitable. I would say that is the word that would describe her. She would make our appointments, and I would say, Helen, are you crazy? 12 appointments for each of us, right? We would go and then meet back, let's say, at Senator Arlen Specter or Joe Lieberman's office before we would go over to Penn Station. I was slumped in the couch in Senator Specter's office waiting for her, and she would come back. Jeff, how was your day? Tell me about all of your meetings. She was amazing. She was my mentor. I'll never ever forget 1994, my first trip down to Washington. Helen and Herb mentored me. I can attribute virtually all of my skills advocating for Israel to them. Sitting in, and was your mom that really made all of the difference. Sitting in Congressman Michael Forbes' office, she came over to me. She said, Herb is busy with Congressman Forbes. He cannot get over to Senator Helms for a meeting on the Senate side. Jeff, you take it. I said, Helen, this is my first time down in Washington. I can't go over to Senator Helms and take that meeting. She said, Jeff, you'll be okay. I was peeing in my pants. She said, Jeff, you'll be okay. Take the meeting. The rest is history. I will never, ever forget her. I will just commend one thing to Yehudit and to Nadia. She, every single time we were on our way back from Washington, would say to me, Jeff, what can we do to get the young people involved? Kol hakavod to all of you in my age cohort, kol hakavod, but what can we do to get the young people involved? And so I hear, despite my hearing aids, I hear her voice ringing in my ear. I decided I was going to take those young people, those university students, to the Knesset, to Congress with me. It was, I think, an amazing experience for me to take those young people along. And when I went, do you two recall Heichal Shlomo some years ago when you guys got the youth involved here in the Ribonut movement? When I saw that, I said, we're in good shape here. Now, what we have got to do in the United States, please, everybody in AFSI, take this back with you. What we have got to do in the United States is emulate what those two young women over there have done, okay? And get the youth involved there as well in a Ribonut movement for us here. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your mom with us.
By the way, we have Ribonut youth who wants to, they want to be in touch. You know that they're very active, our youth, and I guess you get the updates about what they do, and they want to be in touch with חוץ לארץ, so we'll talk about that. נכון, יהודית? יש לנו כמה חבר'ה שרוצים. What's your name? Miriam wants to say a few words, then Mina Fenton, and Chaim Silberstein. בסדר? Guys, keep it short.
Yes, my name is Miriam Tenenbaum. Maybe somebody of you know our books, Catch the Jew and so on. I'm the wife of Tuvia Tenenbaum. And I was also for a long time the neighbor of Judy. And when Judy in the beginning told me about AFSI, Americans for a Safe Israel, I said, Judy, do you know that you have the most important mission for any American Jew? Do you know that? That's the future, that's the real call for any American Jew. And we heard about the dangers here, but do you know the end of the story? That Israel will be and is the place to be for any Jew. It will be the head of all the nations, and this will be the most secure and safe place for any Jew. And whatever you're doing now, you're preparing for your future. You're doing something big, even if it doesn't look big. It's the biggest thing you can ever do. I'm so excited what AFSI is doing, the idea. And we really need to spread it to all of America, because the best of Israel is yet to come. It's yet to come. Let's just look at the glorious future we will have here.
Thank you so much. Chazak, Mina, and then Chaim. Where are you? Chaim Silberstein? Okay.
My name is Mina Fenton, prior city on the Jerusalem municipality. I was 11 years. I was for 11 years a city councillor, and I had the great privilege to know Helen, who was like my friend, I would say like my sister. She was an eloquent woman of spirit and deeds. She wanted to be updated every day when she came back to America in order to know what is her program for the next day, who is updated, not way back a week ago. I can tell you we were sitting and everything that she wanted is, what is our program? So there were times where United Jerusalem was a problem and we had to fight for it. And she was so zeal about it. She was full of fire. But I want to tell you, Judith, normally when a person, I am from Jerusalem, a city councillor, I know what has to be done, etc., etc. So I would talk to Helen. But Helen was not a person to be just directed. She had her direction. She got the message, went into deeds. I want one thing to tell you. I can tell you a lot about our working together, but choosing this place is unbelievable. Number one, stretching out, bigger. Ozen Gaon is going to be wider. And this was Helen. Everything has to be greater, higher, wider. But we mentioned Abraham, right? Was Lech Lecha. This is like Abraham tent that was open to all the guests to come with great love, with great piety. Yesterday was the Memorial Day of Rachel Imenu. Listen, I was in tears when I was sitting here and I was thinking how similar, in a way, I take Helen, great Helen, and Rachel Imenu. Rachel Imenu was buried al Em Derech, on the way, the main road. She was worrying and praying for the next generations because she knew, as you said, there is a future and there is a big future and there is a glorious future. Helen was indeed, she was Rachel Imenu, indeed. She had like a prophecy. Her mind was full of imagination, but with her 2 feet down to earth. It was a great merit for me, for all of us, and I can feel it from all the words that I can hear, about her greatness, and I can tell you her memory will carry on living. She is here al em haderech, like Rachel Imenu. She is here accepting all the guests, and she is calling them. This is her great job, calling everybody. Come over to Israel. Love Jerusalem, love Hevron, love every place in the country. This is our future.
Mina, בלי עין הרע, you're amazing. חיים, בבקשה. חיים סילברשטיין.
Chaim Silverstein, thank you for introducing me. President of Imesh Kachech, Keep Jerusalem. Very briefly, Judy, it's very emotional for me to be here marking this day and this event. I had the privilege of knowing Judy for over 25 years, knowing Helen for over 25 years, and starting with the days of Herb in the office in east side of New York originally, and then all the trips to Eretz Israel. I just want to mention three things that stick out in my mind. First of all, we heard all the time how Helen was a fighter for Eretz Israel, but that wasn't enough for her. She had to find the most difficult projects, the most difficult places. That's what she had to find. It had to be Hevron, right in the middle. It had to be Nagohot. It had to be Shechem. And, and if it wasn't very, very challenging, then other people can handle it. She has to deal with the real challenges. And Azza, right. And that was point number one. Point number two, we saw from the photograph of her, I cannot ever remember Helen without a smile. I just can't remember her. She always had this teethy smile on her face, which was inspirational. And and the third thing I want to say is that, as you have all said, and I want to say it for me personally, she was really an inspiration to me, who's one of the fighters on the ground here. And she just, from her, never needed to shout. She was always speaking quietly, with a smile, and getting things done. As you all said, she speaks in word and in action, and even in Yerushalayim, few of you know, but she also put her money where her mouth is. And we were privileged, our organization, privileged to have her a partner in one of our projects. And my feeling, I don't know if you all know, but she was in the process of making Aliyah. And I just feel God decided that she needs a higher Aliyah, because for what she did for Eretz Israel, she had already made that Aliyah. It had already been registered in the holy books, and Hashem took her to a higher Aliyah. So may her memory be blessed, and may we all be privileged to continue her legacy.
תודה חיים. Akiva HaCohen from Yitzhar, and then Rabbi Dan Rosenstein, Executive Director of the Hevron Fund.
Hi everyone, I'm Akiva HaCohen from Yitzhar. I don't actually remember where it all started. Like AFSI was always there for us. No, the tractor I think was after. When I was in house arrest, that's where it started. She was always there. Like I was in an administrative order in Yerushalayim. I couldn't stay in my home. And there, I lived in the French Hill in Yerushalayim, and she just came there. I think actually maybe it's my wife's grandfather, Yossi Ben Aaron, made the shidduch between us. I think so. And since then, she was always there. Anything that ever happened and she saw on the news about Yitzhar, immediately I would get a message from her, WhatsApp, mail, whatever it was. Anything we ever needed, it was obvious they would be there. Just 2 years ago, or last year maybe, we had an enormous fire right outside Yitzhar, and endangering all the homes. And she said, "What could we do to help?" I said, "We have this equipment." Immediately, the check was on the way. I'll make it short. Last year, right before Purim, a few months before she passed away. My wife and I were in the States, and we went to visit her in Manhattan, and Judy was there too. And we were there with our baby, a few months old baby, and first thing she did was, okay, let's go up on the roof. We have like this playroom because the baby needs to play too. So we were sitting there on the roof and with the playroom and everything. And when we heard about the ptira, that Helen passed away, it was obvious for me that right next to the playground of the AFSI playground in our hilltop in Yitzhar, there's an AFSI playground, a playground that was donated by members of AFSI, just like the show that was donated and the tractor that was donated and many other things that AFSI helped us with. Right next to it, we need a playground for the winter, so we decided to build a playroom in the name of Helen. This Monday, B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to pour the foundations. Whoever wants to come, AFSI will be there with us. And I think that besides for the things that will be built like this in the name of Helen, the things that all the supporters of the people that AFSI supported, the things that people are continuing on doing, that itself is the biggest Ilui Neshama of Helen. You don't need to build things, Davka. The fact that the Yeshuvim are continuing and that all the Eretz Yisrael is continuing, that's the biggest Ilui Neshama in Helen's name.
Hi, Judy. I promise to be brief and try not to cry. AFSI was a Tier 1, is a Tier 1 primary supportive organization of Hevron and the Hevron Fund and the Jewish community of Hevron. And what I mean by that is not just the people that write the biggest checks, but it's also the emotional support. And it also gives us the confidence to do what needs to be done. AFSI has been with us for more years even before me. I only got to know Helen when we were AOL friends. We eventually became Gmail friends. And Helen was our inspiration. For me, she was a coach, and she was a friend. And there were many times where we would converse. The last email she sent me was in July before she passed, complimenting us on our newsletter and on our activities and to keep going. I remember one time there was an organization, I won't embarrass the organization, but it's a very wealthy 9-figure organization in the New York area. And they presented a challenge to us which was a little bit uncomfortable, and I had to get back to them. So I conferred with Helen. I think I held the phone like about right over here. As she began to tell me and give me the confidence, I'm a pretty confident guy, but against a 100 million plus organization, that she says, I'm going to get on the phone with them. Did you want me to do that? I said, let me make a call. I called back the organization. I said, listen, we could settle this one of two ways. Either you and I settle this now, or Helen Freedman would like to speak to you from AFSI. You don't want that. I don't want that. Let's just figure it out. So if I'm here, in the middle of the planning of Katsover and people are calling how to come and whatever, it's because of the cover that I have for your mom and for the people of AFSI, and and now it's all upon us to keep moving forward as Helen would want. Thank you very much.
We will finish with a little brief movie of listening to Helen. And then we'll finish with Hatikva.
It is our great privilege and honor to speak on behalf of Ribbanut. This has been the dream of our organization, Israel Shlema, from the very beginning, and we are so pleased that this is gaining strength and movement, and we are so happy to be part of it. Toda rabah. you know, Nadia and Yehudit, they said that we were with them from the beginning with the idea of sovereignty, because it was only natural. It was only natural that we should be with them in the beginning, because from the beginning of our Chizuk missions, which started about 25 years ago, believe it or not, twice a year, so maybe this is our 50th anniversary, I'm not sure. But we have always, we go to Judea and Samaria, we go to Yitzhar, we go to Ammona, we go to Itamar, we go to Shiloh, Eli, Nativ Avot, we were there yesterday, Elazar. We planted with Yehudit and Nadia in between Elazar and Alon Shvut. So we know in our hearts that these places must be part of a whole Israel. It's outrageous to think that it has to be separated. Today, I hope I won't embarrass somebody when I say this, but we brought some new people who from here we're going on to Hevron. And some new people who have never been in Gush Etzion, never been in Hevron, and I was asked whether he needs his passport. And I said, no, we're staying in Israel. We are not crossing any borders into Jordan, Egypt, strange countries. We're staying in Israel. This is part of Israel. So unfortunately, there's such a lack of information. There's such a lack of experience. And the reason that my group, and I am so indebted to the people who come with me over and over and over again, and also to the new people, so indebted that they also, once they have seen what we show them in these areas, you know, the bond is there and it's unbroken, and we will continue to support Ribbonut.
It's very moving, and I think that Helen simply heard everything. I feel she's here. She's mamash here, and I think Helen, I remember how she loved Hatikva. So we're going to finish with Hatikva. Please stand.